Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fucked Up Film Podcast. My name is Harrison.
And my name is Francisco.
And today, welcome to episode 2. We are discussing this movie called We Are the Flesh, which its Spanish title is...
I completely forgot.
Was it like We Have the Flesh in English?
Yeah. Tenemos la carne.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this movie's called We Are the Flesh, and as we said before, it is from Mexico, and it was directed by someone named... I really thought the director would be on the back of this cover, but it's not. But We Are the Flesh, very interesting movie, very unique.
Very colorful.
Colorful, yes,
Colorful.
very psychedelic.
It's something you actually have to visually experience. It's definitely different from the other movies that I've seen or that are on the list, I believe.
Do you think that it still kind of lines in with the the fucked up aspect we want to explore?
Yes, just because it's not traditionally something you would see like in mainstream movie theaters.
Oh, hardcore! This is
This is definitely different.
This is the epitome of an indie movie, man. Like, you know, after we were done watching the movie, we looked at the behind the scenes photos on the special features, and it looked very minimal, very
Raw.
small, very my favorite photo was the J rig of the camera on the ladder, and of course the penis prop on the C stand. So, and I think we kind of had the same thought too, that these filmmakers look young.
Yeah,
like either in
students.
film school or out of film school. So, kudos to the makers of this movie. But yeah, I think what I want to get into first is how I discovered this movie. So way back in the day when I would just buy bundles of movies from Zio Records, this movie was released through Arrow Video, who is they're kind of known for releasing movies like these, these little indie gems and little fucked up aspects to certain, not a lot of movies that would get a wide release. Arrow Video gives them these wide releases in the best possible way. But yeah, no, I think one day I was just browsing through the Arrow Video section at Zio Records, and I pulled this out, and it looked interesting. I think because the front cover had like it looked like a figure in like a womb,
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of read the back. I read the back a bit. I'm like, okay, this sounds weird enough to buy, and I bought it. And I'll tell you what, it sat in my collection for years, as things usually go. And then one random evening, I just, I'm gonna finally watch this, and I watched it, and I was all like, what the fuck did I just watch? I didn't expect it to be so experimental and just downright weird.
Now, it's the kind of movie you could probably watch if you're high and have some kind of appreciation towards it. Mm-hmm. It was shot in a very nice way visually. That I was not expecting that. With a title like that, you would be expecting a lot more carnage, a lot more blood and gore. There was very minimal on that again this week, but definitely made up for it in a very psychedelic way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and ironically, this is the second time I've watched it this year, because this year my roommate at the time was kind of wondering if there were any like messed up movies I could share with him, and I'm all like, I got one. So we put this on and we watched it right in the middle of quarantine earlier this year, and it was like it was bizarre for him as well. So, but We Are the Flesh. Let's see. I think I had a lot of eye candy in it for both of us. There was a very attractive girl, I'll be able to say that, but there was also a very attractive guy as well. I'm not talking about the old man. I'm talking about the younger brother, Lucio.
The old man, I think, was very well portrayed by the actor. He gave a sense of just crazy. Mm-hmm. Like he was able to keep his crazy look throughout the whole film. There was no signs of him being different. He kept that character in place, and it was great. I thought his acting was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was like a far crazier like Hannibal Lecter,
Latino Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, Latino Hannibal Lecter on LSD.
Yeah, it has to. The very beginning of it, you can start telling that it's going to be a different kind of movie, because the tones of the whole beginning is just very. You hear a lot of bass, a lot of ominous sounds and what he's doing, and it's very different. It doesn't start off with any kind of hint of what the rest of the film's going to be like. It kind of takes you by surprise.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that we should probably tell our listeners what it's about.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, we're like, what the hell are they talking about? So I have the DVD cover or the Blu-ray cover with me right here, and I'm just gonna read this middle paragraph that just tells you what
it's about.
Yeah. All right. So a young brother and sister roaming an apocalyptic city take refuge in the dilapidated lair of a strange hermit. He puts them to work building a bizarre cavernous structure where he acts out his insane and depraved fantasies. Trapped in this maddening womb-like world under his malign influence, they find themselves sinking into the realms of dark and forbidden behavior. See, now, that's the paragraph I read when I watched this. So they said roaming an apocalyptic city, which is why I was thinking, okay, the movie takes place post-apocalypse after some sort of unnamed cataclysm.
Yeah, by what he had in his little home area, and then when the kids arrived, it seemed like they were scavengers. So they were wearing very weathered clothing. They were drinking out of what looked like old oil containers.
Now, did you catch on to that? Because when I told you it was like post-apocalyptic, you were like, really? Did you think it was post-apocalyptic, or that they were just poor?
I just thought maybe it was just maybe an outskirts kind of thing, or somewhere where it was very poverty-stricken. Because the guy, in the very beginning, he has access to bread, whether it be moldy or not. It looks like something you'd be able to find in an everyday kind of situation. Yeah, not like something that
tossed out bread from the day.
Exactly. Sales, yeah. So that didn't really give me a sense of post-apocalypticness, but the rest of the setup did. So
because you entered this movie incredibly blind. Like I just told you that
here's the movie, we're watching it.
Yeah. And but yeah, no. Apparently, I was misled by that back cover. So
no, but it does give you that sense of this is not the outside world, especially throughout the movie. The teenagers are very hesitant to even leave, as if they can't find another place for food or home or shelter.
This guy has eggs, so we gotta stay.
And then they ended up having meat. So that was another curious thing where she's like, where did you get the meat from? Which is a very good question if you're living in a kind of apocalyptic.
Which I find very ironic with that scene, because today, after knowing you for so many years, I discover you don't like pork, except for bacon.
Every man has to like bacon. It's in our DNA.
I mean, geez.
Yeah, I just don't eat pork. It's been like that for a minute.
But it's crazy because there was this character who doesn't eat meat either. Well, I guess meat in general, but they were eating pork, and I'm like, this is kind of ironic now, you know.
Well, also this comes from today. We're like, hey, there's a butcher shop right down my street.
Oh yeah, this is so weird. Like I just discovered a butcher shop 5 minutes down the road. No, walking. So distance. It's less driving, but it's crazy.
Today's topic is meat.
Meat. Well, it makes sense since this movie is called We Are the Flesh.
Yes, and there is cannibalistic tones.
Oh God, let's go over that, guys. Because all right, first, there's cannibalism, there is incest. Necrophilia.
That one was a little
more like dry humping a corpse.
But that's the thing that's kind of odd, and this is what kind of led into the more this could be a post-apocalyptic was. In one of the scenes, the hermit actually dies, and they move his body to a room, and they go in, and the girl goes in a few days later and sees that he's still there, and he definitely looks like he's starting to rot. Mm-hmm. But then he is reborn out of the womb structure that they built, which I'm still again trying to piece how the hell that's going on.
I was wondering if you caught on to the religious themes with that.
The Jesus.
Yeah,
Jesus. It was very well. It's towards kind of the end of the movie. He is saying, feast on my flesh and drink my blood. I'm like, okay, this is very, very Jesus-y right now.
Communion-y.
Yeah, which was very. It definitely set the tone for what this guy was doing, and then throughout the whole movie, he was doing very religious kind of things, saying religious things.
Which, there was that one scene that I think kind of like, oh, well, things got real. I forget what he said already, but he was, for as crazy as he definitely seemed woke.
As the kids say nowadays. Well, he was just saying how one of the things that I caught was he was trying to separate morality from instinct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I think, like I said, this is about the third or fourth viewing of this movie for me. So for me, like viewing number one, even maybe parts of viewing number two were just face value. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is. I mean, I think this movie has no unsimulated sex. This is all. I believe all the sex in this movie, penetrative or not, was real.
Yeah, except for the dick on the crane thing.
Except for the dick on the C-stand, yeah.
Yeah,
that was obviously...
I was hoping that was actually fake, because that was, I'm like, that's a pretty clean POV shot right there.
Which, great, filmmaking ingenuity.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, there's a scene where, I mean, spoiler alerts, I did say that this contained incest, where the sister definitely sucks the brother's dick. And I'm thinking, okay, well, they kind of zoom in on the faces, but the moment, like, she puts that dick in her mouth, that is
real.
That is real. And at the end, when they lure in a poor girl to, to experience whatever's going on in this homemade cave womb.
Sex dungeon thing.
Yeah, like, there's a very explicit shot of the boy putting his dick in her vagina. So it's like, okay, well then, this is a movie that really just... how would you say?
Went all out.
Yeah, all of it was authentic. There was nothing unsimulated, which, given the brief moments we've seen it behind the scenes, like the interview with that lady, the film critic, thematic wise and film wise, this film sought out to make people uncomfortable. It almost forced them to experience and see things that challenges them, and one of them was great. One of the great examples of this was terrific for the both of us, because I am an openly gay man, and my friend here is a beautiful heterosexual. So he loves women, I love men, and it's great because there was a scene. It's like just a gratuitous close-up shot of a vagina, and then great, that's great for you, vagina, and then it's like, okay, this is great for all the straight men, but then immediately right after that is an extended take of a close-up, same angle of balls and dick, dick and balls.
See, what I took away from those two scenes was the bass tones. They're forcing you almost to just look at it, but also there was a change in color. As far as the lighting was used. For the woman, it was it's slightly pink, red, so very like a feminine tone. And then for the male was dark blue, bluish. So again, very traditional colors for each sex.
But I think it was also there to be like this is a vagina, this is a penis, and I'm just thinking of like someone like really straight down low, like bro mask dude, like, oh yeah, look at that vagina, yeah, and then he's objectifying it, and then all of a sudden, oh, now it's a penis. What do you have to say about that, straight down low mask man?
See, the thing that I was trying to pick up through the whole film is the hermit is he's trying to deconstruct the thoughts and the way of acting that these kids were bred into, I guess. I
just noticed a theme. You said bread, and then I thought about them being siblings, and then my mind automatically went to Hansel and Gretel. Oh, breadcrumbs, bread. Interesting.
So today's secondary topic is bread. He was very during one of the scenes where he's alone with the guy. He's just asking him how's a little bag of bones like you end up being around such an attractive woman, and he's just like, that's my sister. He's like, that doesn't mean anything. So right there, he's starting to plant the seeds of this is more instinct than nature, or more what's the term?
Nature versus nurture.
There you go. Thank you. Yeah, he's trying to undo the years of conditioning that nurture has done, and lessons and morality that has been implicated on them by, religion, and then just straight up the way the modern world brings you up.
Yeah, you see, I think that now the fact that we are covering this movie immediately right after covering Solo, it was completely accidental.
Yeah.
Because they have similar themes as far as people embracing the carnality of life. You know, because in Solo you had these 4 libertines, not
yes.
librarians,
librarians,
not libertarians, libertines, who seem to be just a much more sophisticated version of this crazy Mexican dude.
Yeah.
You know, where they are already at that level, and they want to openly practice these just carnal attitudes toward these youths. So it's instead of it placing all of that violence on someone else, this Mexican hermit dude is attempting to show these 2 kids the way, and the way is very fucked up.
Well, the way is also it's psychologically rebuilding them and reconditioning them to think differently.
And it's crazy because unexpectedly, the sister is the one who is
really into it,
who really falls into that chasm.
Yeah, she lets go from her morality very quickly. She didn't even resist that much at the moment where he basically forced them to have sex with each other. She was very open to it and just showed no hesitation. Whereas in the brother,
he did not a little push.
He did more than a push. He was resistant before, during. He did it, but even afterwards, she still pursued him without any pushing. Mm-hmm. And he declined her advances several times.
And it's crazy because it seems that he fully embraces that life only after receiving what could be considered a lobotomy with a bullet.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because she tries to pursue him after the injury. He declines. However, he goes into an empty hallway and masturbates to the thoughts of them having sex, which right there just to me shows that he feels ashamed by what he's done, but he still can't resist the effect that it has on him mentally and physically. Mm-hmm. So he just does that on his own.
Yeah. So he does succumb to it by the end, I believe. In fact, I think he becomes a victim of cannibalism by his own sister.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, whether he was dead or alive, she was definitely nibbling at his bullet wound.
Yeah. One of the things that the sister said that really stuck out was after the hermit died, before he was reborn, they were kind of alone. It looks like she was still trying to be playful with him. And she woke him in one of the scenes and said, and asked him, it's like, if he loved her. And he said yes. And shortly afterwards, she said to him, "There is no such thing as love, only acts of love." So right there just shows that she's already being...
Demonstrations of love, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, demonstrations of love, yeah. So right there just shows that her mental, how she is psychologically has already changed.
Yeah.
She's already been broken down.
That definitely maybe have existed already, but the hermit definitely, she was the perfect candidate to be exposed to this world.
He opened that door wide open, and she went right into it. Like Harrison said earlier, there was another girl that they kind of lured into this dungeon, and she immediately started going on her. Mm-hmm. And after a few scenes, you can see that they're having sex with each other before the brother jumps in and has sex with the new girl. So she fully embraced the whole...
Yeah. Which I guess we should probably discuss that one. Throughout the movie, there is a vial of some sort of liquid that the hermit uses. I had already forgotten, after watching it so many times, but that vial had multiple uses throughout the movie.
Yes. Shown usages have been healing, which with the brother and the bullet wound. Also, when the sister ingested some kind of poison, it healed her after a few drops. And it's shown as a psychedelic because the hermit takes it willingly without any injury or any alteration to his mind.
Yeah. And it's given to that girl who then slowly becomes just into
she becomes more susceptible to it. But it also, I feel like it also helps revert your morality and kind of makes you more in tone with your animalistic or your primitive needs, wants, urges. without much hesitation.
Which unfortunately makes it harder to determine what it was, because initially we just said, oh, it's LSD.
It's LSD, yeah.
But it's not.
Well, it's definitely odd because you can see him. They show the process of him making it twice in the film, and both times are very different. However, the outcome is still the clear fluid that he puts into the little vials.
Yeah. Because the first method, it looks like he uses animal fat. It's like a bag of animal fat mixed in with a bag of moldy bread with water. Yeah. And then, it's fermented and
heated up and
and then it's distilled into a container. So and it comes out as a white liquid, and he calls it gas, which I wonder if that's just a fantasy element or if that is a legitimate way to make, gas.
Well,
just because, they made lamp oil out of whale blubber.
True.
So
also, it's shown in the film in the very beginning. After he uses the fat in the bread, he lights it on fire and it's flammable, so it stays lit for a second. And then the second method was the soldier.
Yeah, the poor soldier.
Yeah, he got cut up and minced.
Which apparently looked like it was a cut scene. I guess for some reason that was where they drew the line.
They drew the lines like, we can't show that.
Yeah.
And again, the same process. He just dumps the meat into the container, ferments it, boils it, whatever.
That did not look like human fat. It just looked like human goop.
Yeah, it's like Sloppy Joe.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely looked like Sloppy Joe. Yeah, and then at the end process, again, just a clear liquid coming out of the tube. Yeah. So as to what it was, I still don't understand.
Yeah, the film critics interview we watched used the word ambiguous a lot. And while I do love a good old ambiguous ending, this one took it not only literally, but also metaphysically. So whatever that liquid is, it seems to be the elixir of life. It's gas. It'll get you high. It'll heal your wounds. It'll make you susceptible to sexy times. What else? It'll cure poisoning.
It was just a very... just the whole movie is very interesting, just because again it's the second one that doesn't have a mass amounts of gore and violence and what you would normally consider fucked up, but this again is mentally trying, just because of the elements that are used. The ending though is it's one of those things that you could see it coming or you don't see it coming. There's no in between.
Yeah, I did not see it coming at all, which is why when I first watched it I was like, oh fuck, that sucks. What was your first thought?
My first thought was all this is done out of pure pleasure, not out of necessity or the need to survive.
You see, because I think there's a certain like when you realize what's happening, and at least for me, because I was misled by the back cover and it said it took place in a post-apocalyptic world. So when I first saw it, I realized that the world has ended. There's really not any more morals to hang on to, so it's quite natural. It seems to be the natural path to take after the world end. Let's embrace the fucked upness of our lives. Let's embrace into our carnal nature. So for this film that represented through the incestual acts of fucking between the brother and sister, cannibalism, being poisoned, dry humping a corpse. So it's like the world has ended. There's no more morality to hang on to. So let go of it, and that's what I took away from it. But then that's why I realized, there's other survivors out there. They're like, do you have food? I'm like, okay, great. If the world has ended, of course you'll do this for food. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And when I realized that all this fucked up shit was happening in the modern world, it just threw me to the ground and it was screaming in my face. And I was thinking, wow, this took on a whole deeper meaning for me.
Yeah, just so basically at the end of the film, you see one of the, actually, I don't even know who even explain that.
I don't know. He's just a dude wearing a dress.
Yeah, they had a big,
massive orgy
containing cannibalism, I guess. And what seems to be like morning, one of the partygoers gets up. It's a gentleman in a beard wearing a dress.
I think we've all been there, waking up drunk and wandering into this, I've certainly been there. Cannibalism, but everything else.
And then you just see him going, like he knows the way out. He starts leaving the cave.
The structure.
The structure, yeah. and goes down flights of stairs, and he just keeps going what seems to be like a long pathway out of a building. And sure enough, when he opens the last door, it just shows it's modern day.
Yeah,
it's
modern day Mexico City.
Yep, there's cars, people walking around, nothing post-apocalyptic at all. So that right there just says this is something that was done by choice, not out of need. Yeah. And it's just people reverting to their basic urges,
which is great. I think this
live as you will.
I think this is a much more terrific representation of what the libertines were trying to do in Salo.
Yeah, libertines were by force. This was pretty much like come and play. Yeah, and it's an open invitation.
This is Charlie's After Hours.
I would not know.
I'm
sorry. I missed the tacos there though.
Yeah, well, they're still good.
Are they still there?
No, it's not the same taco truck. They're calling it Charlie's Tacos, and these ones are spicier. So you might like them. I don't. I tried one and I was all like, ooh. Which, by the way they're running that now is so weird. It's basically like a restaurant style now. So like you go there, you get led to a table, and you can't leave that unless you want to go smoke or go pee. No dancing, no nothing.
Wow,
so it's basically a glorified
hole in the wall restaurant.
Macayos. Because it's Western themed. So I'm like, well, this is so weird. It's like the tamest I've ever seen Charlie's at night. But,
again, I would not know. I don't.
You don't like going to Charlie's?
It's not that I don't like going to Charlie's. I've just never been in Charlie's.
Oh.
Yeah, I've
You've never been in Charlie, huh?
But
but yeah.
No, it's just that the whole movie again is very. It's not fucked up in a violent way. It's fucked up in a mental way. Which is still fucked up. Yeah,
it's still great. It challenges you in different ways. I think the term "fucked up" can be applied to both the physical and the mental.
Yes.
For me, I mean, honestly, if this were a much more wider-ranging podcast, I would put Hereditary on the list.
Oh, definitely, definitively, yeah.
Psychologically scarring much. That's the only recent horror movie that has actually left me, shocked and surprised. That's the only movie recently that I took images from home in my head.
I like that in Midsommar, but I'm just like, they're not. It was very mainstream, trying to be what these films are.
Mm-hmm. Which I think it succeeded.
It did. It's a very polished movie of the things that we're discussing and watching here. Because, again, it is mainstream and people know what the movies are. If you watch those and like them, then definitely consider some of these lesser-known titles that might be more mentally challenging. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Hereditary was a good movie. I did enjoy it. Midsommar, enjoyed it less, but it's still good.
And it's funny because it does, in a sense, it's physically fucked up too, in the sense, because I'm not saying violence-wise. Strangely enough, sexually it is. Just because when you realize that these two very attractive people are siblings and they're fucking on camera, you're thinking, okay, that's uncomfortable. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but
it gets worse when the hermit's above them, like hovering, violently tugging himself. That's like, oh, we kind of saw this coming, and then he did.
Which, like I said, I think the film does both gratuitous and artistic very well, because that whole scene leading up to him dying out because he masturbated too hard, because the sex scene,
it's symbolic in a way.
It opens the door to that openness that the hermit wants.
Yeah.
It comes down to him being naked, getting undressed naked, and then him undressing her, and then her blowing him, and then that's when it gets into what I think is a pretty neat looking, probably the neatest looking sex scene I've seen on film, which is because they shoot the sex scene between the siblings with infrared video, and like the woman in the interview we saw talked about, it's a much more carnal representation.
Yeah, you don't see a brother and sister. You just see literally two human beings intertwined.
And that paired with, as she said, a very inappropriate music, because it's a very lovely love ballad in Spanish.
Yeah.
And then it does almost like a very hard cut to this guy just literally masturbating over these two siblings fucking. So it's all like, okay, well, that was intense. That was such a change. And I think what really sold it for me, the little cherry on top of this really, incestual cake, was when he collapses and it does another hard cut to him laying on the ground and holding his cock. The boy, naked as well, kind of pushes him with his foot. He's not moving. And there's a long pause. And then he says, say it in Spanish.
Está muerto.
AKA,
he's dead.
He's dead. But the way he says it is like, okay.
Very calmly.
Calmly, but was that supposed to be funny? Because I was laughing. He's dead.
Jeez. I mean...
So,
I don't know what the point was. I mean, at this, I was like, did they finish? And then did he walk over there casually, or did they see him collapse and then get done? But I don't... That cut could represent... Well, I mean, it could be the reason why we're talking about it right now. Is like, there was no definitive ending of what was going on other than, he's dead now.
I don't know. Honestly, if this were the first movie I would ever watch that was like this, if I had not watched the library movies we have watched, I would have definitely walked away feeling like I need to burn this movie.
It's like, I did not consent to this.
But having seen what we've seen, and of course being a filmmaker myself, and
watching it for the values and what's being represented,
you can see what it's done. This film challenges you to literally stare at stuff that may be inappropriate.
And I think that's what it's trying to do, is be like, is this inappropriate, and if so, by whose standard and who decided that it is? It's trying to make taboo things not taboo.
Yeah, and it succeeds. It shows us a lot of things. I mean, honestly, I think not a general audience member, but maybe someone on our level of, as far as the understanding goes of these kind of films, I think that they may have been way more uncomfortable with the nudity rather than the violence.
Yeah, the nudity there, it was definitely very subtle. Mm-hmm. I think they were naked for at least half the movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's not subtle.
Sorry, by that I meant, how do I put it? It was very normalized.
Yeah.
Like, they're wearing their clear bunny suits or whatever, or not bunny suits, clear jumpsuits or whatever. And then I was like, they're naked now. Mm-hmm. Especially after they do have sex, she starts being more naked. She's less modest, I guess.
Because the violence isn't that.
It's not real.
I mean, the most violent scene is probably the soldier's death scene.
Yeah, which even then was very... I mean, they basically sued them into like, this is going to happen, make peace with it, and it seems like the soldier did.
Which I thought was very interesting. I mean, as fucked up as it was, the man, the hermit, definitely respected him in a way.
The way he told him was like, you're a soldier, so you knew you were going to die sooner than later. Unfortunately, it is sooner than later.
And that soldier, I mean, he's in it for just that one scene, but he goes on a journey.
Yeah.
He first starts off as a crybaby, wanting to live, and then they start singing what I can only imagine is the Mexican anthem.
It sounded like it. I would not know that one, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then suddenly he becomes bold and he starts, screaming or singing the anthem with bravado. And then suddenly he is ready to face his death. And I thought, in a lot of ways, that was a very beautiful moment.
Yeah. I mean, before he gets to that, his mouth is taped. And when the hermit cuts the tape off, he basically says, just let out all the shit out of your body through the screaming. And sure enough, he screams for about 30 seconds straight. And like the critic was saying in the behind the scenes that's just focusing on the screaming rather than what would be causing the screaming. Just like, if he was being murdered, you'd be looking at the visual versus the audio. In this scenario, he is just screaming. So you can't focus on any gore. You focus on his screaming, on his face, on the journey that he's going between that and death. So. And
part of me wonders if, because... Okay, again, referencing that really informative lady who did the behind-the-scenes interview, she really kind of tore this film apart and really kind of informed us a lot about a lot of things. One of the words she used a lot was rituals, and part of me is wondering if this is part of a ritual, because, of course, not even a cult, but that soldier definitely becomes the second recipe for the goop. whatever he's making, you know.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders if it's like a ritualistic thing to let go of that fear, because you know they always say that if an animal dies with fear, it kind of taints the meat.
Yeah.
So part of me wondering if this is like a ritual to get rid of that. You know?
Well, one of the things that the hermit was explaining to him was like, you know, they're not killing him for vengeance for anything he's done. They're not doing him. They're not killing him for whatever reason. It's a random act. Mm-hmm. And he said that's the cruelest thing in this world is being the victim of something random, mm-hmm. which stuck out of my mind. And
which is true.
It's true. It's another way of saying life's not fair.
Mm. Yeah,
well, I enjoyed that.
Unfortunately, after that, he became goop. So he did not expect to become goop that morning.
Nope. It just still looks like Sloppy Joe to me.
Yeah, I bet that's maybe what they used.
Yeah, no, but they really minced him.
But I thought it was just so funny that because the behind the scenes photos we saw definitely showed the bust of that soldier as an effect, mm-hmm. and there was a photo of that mat that the character in the film picks up and dumps into the barrel. Uh-huh. So they have to have shot a scene where they were dismembering this mm-hmm. soldier because.
And they probably cut it.
Yeah, which is strange because out of all... it comes down to that thing where, especially when it comes to the American movie rating system, the MPAA, mm-hmm. where it's like, you know what? You can what's the word? Like, you can do all these horrible acts of violence. Just, you can't say fuck while doing it, you know? So part of me wonders is it kind of backwards in Mexico, where in this case it's like they embraced more of the sexual nature of films and no gore.
I mean, it's definitely different down there than it is up here. Yeah. But I think maybe it would have been more of a visual focus as far as a violent act.
Yeah, because in America, I think it's backwards. They're ashamed of sex but embrace violence, and a part of me wonders that could be a cultural thing. Where in Mexico, maybe they're ashamed of violence but embrace more of the sexuality. I mean, fuck, the same could be said for French people. They embrace sex so much, even in their cinema.
Oh, yeah.
So part of me wonders if Mexico is like that as well.
In Mexico they have a lot less censorship. So that's probably why so much was able to get through. I just think maybe they cut the scene out because it would have stuck out more as violence versus just like, what's the point of it?
True, I guess.
I mean, that's just the way I'm seeing it from the way the rest of the movie was. Like, there's very minimal violence and gore, and I think if they would have added that, it could have tilted the scales of what it was meant to show.
Yeah, I feel maybe would have had that effect being way more fucked up if it showed it. Which, I don't know. I think that's just me wanting more, that just tells you exactly what kind of person I am. Yeah. Well,
I'd like the gore. That would be great. I just think that if they would have done it, they could have probably played some, again, like pleasant music out of the that doesn't fit the mood, just to balance it out to what you're seeing as to what you're hearing.
Which I guess, if their purpose was to be ambiguous, we still are debating if that soldier was part of the goop, because I don't know. It's like, it was him being killed in the scene prior, and then the next scene is him is the guy dumping the goop in the other goop. I don't know what to call it. I'm just calling it goop. Well, it looks like goop.
It is. I mean, in the very beginning with the bread, he goes in there, and the hermit goes and just, when he mixes it up, it's like oatmeal goop.
Yeah, and plus he's getting off in his pantaloons a little, he's like,
this fucking goop.
This fucking, I don't know what it is.
It looks like oatmeal to me.
It's literally,
it's fucking goop.
It's the elixir of life, It can kill you, it can heal you, it can make you horny. I don't know.
The thing that I find interesting is this is all going on in the modern world. However, when you see any shots of anything or whatever, there's no city noises. Mm-hmm. There's no birds, no planes, no...
Oh, yeah. Even when that guy at the end leaves, the cityscape noises don't come in until after he just takes one step out of that structure.
The only time you hear any kind of noise coming from the outside world is during what might be a psychedelic trip where they're facing a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Aside from that, no outside noises come through those walls.
That's one thing I liked, was the sound design. This is a bit of a modern movie. It was made like 2002 12, I think.
Less than a decade ago.
Yeah, 2016.
Wow,
so
that's
4 years ago.
That's even more.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, the film is able to have a bit more of a modern soundtrack, and I feel like I've been watching a lot of old movies lately, which doesn't have like a very, busy soundtrack, but this one had, after looking past everything for so many viewings, I can finally start to see the more subtle parts of the movie. But the sound design, I think, was definitely like I think the word being used was dissonant. It's very fantastical. A lot of the sound coming from when people go crazy, or there's like screams mixed in. It's almost like a Christopher Nolan sound mix where it just overpowers everything.
The lighting, the different shades, and the sound definitely help set the mood and kind of curve the mood that you're thinking that you're going to see based on what they're showing, and takes it to another place. Yeah. And I think that was the purpose, and they executed that beautifully.
I want to see this movie as, the color bars. You ever see those before? Where they literally take one frame of a movie
and then they separate the color?
And, they squish it. And they do it for every single frame, and they do it all the way to the end. I would think we would definitely see a journey there, because the movie starts out very desaturated, very like monotone, black and white on color, but not
very
a lot of
saturated,
color. And then it just evolves into this colorful, color
reds,
spectrum,
yellows, orange,
and then it just goes right back to that as soon as he walks out into the world. So there's definitely a visual message there.
I noticed that it goes from those monotone colors to the orange, the red, the yellows, and then as soon as everything starts kind of toning down, there was blues and purples, and then some kind of like magenta color, and then they have the party, and then it goes back to just normal. Yeah, and it's just a very interesting way to just play on that with colors. Yeah, I liked it.
And plus, this has got to be the one movie I've seen with the weirdest orgy.
I most of it didn't even feel like an orgy, as it did more like people just tripping on drugs.
Oh, there were people. There was definitely a lot of. You probably didn't see it, but I definitely saw a lot of cock in the orgy scene. There was people being jacked off, sucked off. It was just floppy dick everywhere.
Wow, yeah, I must have missed that whole thing. Well, there was one of the girl that was tripping. She was crawling through this orgy, and I was just like, "What's going on?" And then they also focused on what seemed to be like he sung "Happy Birthday" at the end in Spanish, but I don't know what his role was. He didn't look like he participated.
Yeah, because I guess that's the theme of the whole movie is
rebirth.
Rebirth. Living, dying, being reborn again. Because it's pretty obvious that the cave represents a womb. So I imagine all these people here have lived their lives, shedding their lives, being reborn into this fucked up version of it, and that guy just being super random, because it's just a random movie anyways, super experimental movie.
Very.
Why not have a guy literally just sing "Happy Birthday" for all these orgy goers?
It's definitely an odd representation of transitioning and changing your lifestyle, I guess, or being reborn after acquiring new knowledge or rewiring your thinking and your way of thought and life.
Which I feel so horrible for saying this, but the directors that this film is directly been inspired by, I haven't seen a lot of them. I actually haven't seen a lot of one of the filmmakers are referencing is Alejandro Jodorowsky, which I just found out how to say today. And I haven't seen a lot of his movies. And ironically, Arrow did release a very awesome 4K collection of 4 of his best movies. One was like The Holy Mountain and El Topo, or El Topo, I don't know. But, they're kind of like staples in weird cinema. Like, you think this was weird. Like, those are weirder long time ago, And the other filmmaker, which I am still very intrigued with, is Gaspar Noé, which I think he was... What did he do? he did a really fucked up movie, and we watched it. I'd have to look into it, but he recently did a movie called Climax, I think. I don't know if that was him or not. But he too does weird movies like this, where it's just a hyper realistic version of life, and it's just really fucked up what happens in a lot of it. What did he do? God damn it! That's gonna bug me. I gotta look this up real quick.
You know, this movie definitely takes taboo subjects and kind of amplifies it, whereas it's really in your face and just looking at you, and just makes you kind of deal with it because it's something that you wouldn't normally deal with or talk about in your day-to-day life.
Oh, he did the movie Irreversible. Which were you with us when we watched that?
Nope, but it's a French film, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we talked about it last week.
Yeah. So
I have not seen that one yet. No.
Well, that's on the list, and so it's like those kind of movies, you know, just really makes you
think.
Yeah. It shows you fucked up shit and just hopes you can deal with it, you know. But unfortunately, I think that's one of the only movies I've seen of his. Oh, and he did do Climax, so I saw 2 of his movies. But I want to be exposed more to these filmmakers now because of this movie. And it's funny because the filmmakers actually directly thank Marquis de Sade, who did the transcripts for Salo, or 120 Days of Sodom. So it's like there's already our direct connection to what we just covered last week.
It just feels like we're starting off the season, I guess, with more psychologically fucked up stuff versus what people would think of as far as like the gore and physical. So it's a very nice way to kind of, you know, show that it's not the same.
Yeah, which I guess that's our bad, maybe my bad.
Well, we looked, the movies that were supposed to be in order were unfortunately not available. Yeah. So
and they were available, but we're not bilingual. Well, not bilingual for the language of the film, at least.
I would watch it without any kind of subtitles, but then we would be losing.
Yeah. We'd be losing context.
Exactly.
You know, if We Are the Flesh didn't have any subtitles, it'd be like, oh, okay, why are they doing this?
Yeah, and yeah,
no, I wouldn't even catch on to the fact that they may have been brother or sister. I'd be like, that's hot.
Yeah. And being able to understand it and reading the subtitles at the same time is very interesting to see the translation between Spanish and English. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, some things in there kind of got lost, but not lost to the point of the point being made. But it was just more beautifully written in Spanish than it was translated in English.
Which I think already is perfectly, it's represented already by the title. Oh, yeah, you know, We Are the Flesh in English. We have the flesh in Spanish, which I think mean 2 different things already. You know, we are the flesh, meaning we embrace the flesh, meaning we embrace the carnal nature of love. Well, there's no such thing as love. Pleasure. We embrace the carnal nature of pleasure. That's what I get by we are the flesh. We have the flesh. It means a whole different thing already. Whereas we are the flesh, meaning that we were already these things before meeting this hermit. We have the flesh is kind of the same thing, but a little bit deeper, meaning that we've always had these carnal need for pleasure. So it's like, ooh.
Right before the party, the hermit says, everyone's mistaken. The soul doesn't reside inside the body. The soul is the body.
Yeah, it is
the flesh.
Yeah.
So that right there just takes a whole new meaning of what the soul could possibly mean to these people and how they're living their lives.
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah, very, very interesting deep movie. I quite enjoyed it this time, you know. I didn't take away this much with my former roommate because I don't think he quite understood what it was trying to be. I don't even know if we understand, but we get it.
It was definitely... I'd watch it again to see if I could catch more of what they were trying to portray, because it was a very good movie. Like, this is my first time watching it, and would watch it again knowing what the contents are and trying to see if I can keep an eye out for other little things here and there showing more meaning.
There's nothing to indicate that this is the post-apocalypse. So when you watch it again, I'm like, wow, okay, well then.
I mean, it's like I said, but the way they are, you know, where are you going? Have you lived here long? You know,
where did you come from? Where did you go?
Yeah, the hermit basically said, I gave you shelter and I gave you food. Basically saying, you know, I took you in. Now, what were they doing out and about What were they doing scavenging?
Oh.
That kind of, to me, shows that it's trying to imply it without really saying, hey, this is what it is.
Well, they were obviously homeless. They were definitely abandoned homeless teenagers. You didn't catch on. You don't think that? Or?
It's not that I don't think that. I'm trying to go back to when they first arrived. Like, what clothing were they wearing? What were they carrying? Anything with them? Supplies?
Yeah, they looked pretty. They looked pretty
homeless.
Yeah. Well, not homeless, just grungy.
Grungy.
That's why I said post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's very odd that he would make them dress in those like hazmat suits when they were building the womb structure, which when you first start, you're like, the hell are they doing? And then the other thing I thought of was like, how did this guy have so much effing tape? Like, reserved, like, that's a lot of fucking tape.
You had to ask if they go on a Walmart run. And
exactly.
That's where I tried to divert you, and it's like, no, it's the post-apocalypse. There's no one.
And then right there, that might have been one of those hints, like, this.
I just don't. I'm not seeing this hermit going into Walmart to buy tape.
Okay, going to Spanish Walmart. No, he Amazon Primed it.
He Amazon Primed that tape.
It's dropping on top of the building.
Looking for the womb structure. See over here.
But that was one of the things that caught me off guard. Like, wow, that's a lot of tape. I mean, especially for the amount that we're using for the structure, the size of the structure, and how much it took up space-wise. I was like, that is quite a bit of tape. Yeah. And then the materials, at first, it looks like, it's just random pieces of wood, this and that. I'm like, but then there's cardboard. The cardboard didn't look like, it didn't look dirty. It didn't look like it was discarded cardboard. It looked like shipping brand new cardboard.
He did bring it in. I just noticed that he brought in all these tools in the beginning, know.
So I don't know. Like, it's there's those little things that kind of make you like, oh, well, this wasn't post-apocalyptic because these little things right here that you don't catch until you realize, oh, this is not what it is time-wise.
Yeah.
But either way, I enjoyed the whole the trip. It was good.
Okay, so, Francisco, final thoughts. What did you think about We Are the Flesh? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
I enjoyed it. Title, very misleading. Well, actually, I shouldn't even say misleading because it could be seen. After you watch the movie, it will have a different representation as far as what you would think the film would be about. Definitely would be wanting to watch it again to have a deeper appreciation and deeper look into the film itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, no, same thing. Well, I don't know if I'll watch it again. It'll be a while before I need to. Like, if someone specifically requests a weird movie, I'll be like, okay, I got a movie for you. But yeah, no, I loved it. It's not exactly, it's shot very well. It's not your, handheld VHS, gross out movie. There's a lot of thought put behind every decision. Things happen for a reason, and sometimes those reasons you don't have to understand it, or if you can, kudos to you. But We Are the Flesh was, I think, a very challenging movie to watch, specifically because of how ambiguous it is. Yeah, but I think it was really, really good. And honestly, the Lucio character freaked me out a lot. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So by the time I did discover this movie and watch it, because I'm a photographer on the side, I photographed this guy who literally looks like the character in the movie. And I showed Francisco. Do you think he looked like him?
You just like him.
My God.
Almost exactly like him.
And he even wore like the same jorts he was wearing, just jeans that were, customly, scissored off. But it was just like, whoa. Curly hair, slim figure. It was, it was like the whole shebang. But, point being is that I thought Lucio was very, very cute.
The girl counterpart was just as attractive.
Cricket. Oh, yeah. I will say that too.
She's definitely
very, very cute.
But yeah, no, definitely would watch it again.
Yeah. Alrighty, so going off the scale we set for ourselves last week, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being a walk in the park, 10 being, oh my God, there's nails being shoved into my penis. How fucked up was this movie?
5.
5. Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. It was not... It was uncomfortable to watch, but it wasn't... it was not slow. It was not a very forceful movie. It was more psychologically... How would I put it? More coursing than forcing.
Okay.
He's like he tried to get him to see and act on these thoughts based on changing their ideology versus do it now, you sack of
Or else
nothing.
I'll burn your nipples off.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this was more
that literally happened last week. Not in real life, in the movie.
That's a good weekend. This was more rewiring than it was trying to break someone's spirit. So that's why it's not as fucked up to me.
Yeah.
Still fucked up, but not to the level of last week.
Yeah. But, for me, I'm going to go a little low. A 4. I'm going to give us a 4. I think we've both seen way more fucked up shit. And I think we've seen way more, smut. This wasn't smut. It could have easily been smut, but the way it's filmed and represented makes it art.
Yeah. I mean, it's more, like I said, it's more coursing, more kind of psychologically trying to rewire these people to behave in unconditional ways.
Yeah. And I gotta give kudos to the players in all this movie because I don't know what they thought when they read the script that made them say, yeah, I'd love to do this,
There was definitely a lot of nudity and a lot of fluids everywhere. I mean, they were covered in blood and other
and actually, you know what? That part where they're fucking in the blood, that was very beautiful.
It was interesting,
despite it being fucked up. I thought it was visually like, whoa! I thought it looked great.
The lighting.
Yeah, it's the lighting, it's the setup, it's the act of having sex in such a very disturbing location that made it strangely beautiful.
We've all been there.
I can't say I've been there. But, I thought it was a fantastic movie. So,
all the scenes that would be straight up just at face value were taken to another level by the way it was shot and how it was shot.
Yeah. So thank you, Mexico, for giving us this movie.
And me.
But, all right, next week, I have no idea what we're going to cover. It's whatever we can get our hands on, but I am going to try to find grotesque with subtitles because that will certainly be a challenging movie to watch for none of these reasons because, this had a lot of thought put into it. There's a bit more meaning behind the carnage. There's not much thought put into the carnage and grotesque. So we'll see how that goes when... Hopefully we'll find it. If not, then we'll probably be covering something else.
Yeah, I didn't know what we were watching until this morning. I get here with my coffee and his coffee, and it's like, oh, we're watching this. I'm like,
we're watching this. It's called We Are the Flesh. You're going to love it.
I'm like, okay. There's the ice cream truck.
There's the ice cream truck. I need some ice cream after this movie. But yeah. Alrighty. Well, be sure to join us next Friday for whatever. I'm pretty sure you'll love it. But as always, you can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and maybe Twitter. We don't know. As of right now, I think we're just going to only be on Podbean, but you can always find us on YouTube as well. We're going to see what we can do for Spotify and iTunes where we don't know yet. But for now, thanks for listening to us. Until then, everybody be cool, be safe,
and stay sick.